I've just spent the last 12 hours working, and now I'm going to spend a few hours talking about books. Hi, I'm Hannah. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I am a fantasy horror writer. I am currently working on the first draft of my political high fantasy, which I am calling Project Danielle. I've talked about it before on this channel, but it's a different project entirely now, but that's the novel that I'm currently working on and the novel I hope to get traditionally published. But today I'm not going to be doing any writing talk at all. Instead, I'm going to be doing a full video about my second love of my life, reading. More specifically, I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour, because who doesn't love a good bookshelf tour? I love a bookshelf tour. I am really nosy, so I like to see what other people have in their library, and I also just like bookshelf tours, like inspiration, organizing. What was I saying? Oh yeah. What was I saying? As reading is the second love of my life and is also such a highly important thing that writers do, that I do a lot, I wanted to do a bookshelf tour. I'm really just trying to find an excuse for why I wanted to do a bookshelf tour. I love bookshelf tours. The other reason I wanted to do a bookshelf tour, which was my main reason for doing a bookshelf tour, was because I want to be able to look back on my bookshelves at the end of the year, because I reorganized these shelves in December because my other organization, it just wasn't working. Like, for example, to explain my old organization, 3 bookshelves. My first bookshelf was all my genre books. I had like dystopian, 3 fantasy shelves, and then a mixed genre of like books that I don't have enough in the genre to give them their own shelf. And then in the middle, I had like all my display books. I had some little small genres like retellings, fairy tales, all in like a subgenre of fantasy, I suppose. Had mystery and thrillers, and then I just had like display stuff in the middle shelves. And then on the right side, my final shelves, I have what I call all of my like author shelves, which I call them author shelves, but it's really author or series, because some shelves are dedicated to specific authors because I love all the books they've written, or because I love a series and I just love them. And then some of them, like which you'll see in a bit, because I'm probably going to start with this shelf, I have because genuinely I could not put their books on in the other ones because they just have that many books that it basically fills up an entire shelf. So that is that. And then on the end I have some floating shelves which I put all of my classic and then like my short story, non-fiction, poetry collection, because I don't have a lot of those. I don't know why my phone just turned off, but what I was saying was that my classics looked weird on a shelf. I don't know, it just looked a bit odd. I don't know what it is, so I just put them on there and they still look a bit odd, but it looks better than the other one. So I don't know what I was saying because my phone just turned off and I thought it died and I nearly had a heart attack, and it didn't die, it just stopped recording. Anyway, and then I reorganized. Basically, my original reorganization plan was to have my right shelves just have all of my genre books mixed together. So that's dystopian, sci-fi, fantasy, all different types of fantasy as well. High fantasy, low fantasy, romantasy, political fantasy, all mixed together with like mystery and thrillers, horrors, Christmas romances, which I have like one of, lit fic, historical fiction, all mixed together on like one shelving set. And then I just have all my genres there. I don't know what I was going to do in the middle. I think it was just going to be display, and then I was going to have my author shelves on the right. I started to do that when I reorganized, and it just looked weird having thrillers next to fantasy. I don't know what it was about it. Like, I don't mind mixing genres, but it was just weird. And like, I tried to do it on vibes. I was like, oh, it'll look fine. In the end, it just looked weird. So I ended up not doing that. That was my big plan. I had it planned out in my head for months. I was going to do a whole reorganization video and it just didn't work. Literally didn't work. So I ended up just mixing my genres, like fantasy, dystopian together, and then separating my like smaller genres like mystery, thrillers and that, and like stuff like that. That's basically what I did. That's really it. I'm also going to be talking in this video about my 26 for 2026. I know by the time this video goes out, it will be February, and yeah, and my reading goals, I might as well just do it all in this video. It's like a little reading video, but I know that by the time this video goes out, it will be February, and you're probably thinking, why are you doing this now? Like, it's February. I didn't do any of that stuff until like the other day, and the only reason I did a 26 for 2026 is because I was watching another YouTuber who were doing a 26 for 2026, and they categorized by having like non-fiction, literary fiction, like loads of different categories, and I was like, I am going to copy you. So I have copied, I don't even know who it was, but if I find the channel, it'll be in the description. I have a 26 for 2026. I keep accidentally saying 2025 or 2024. I don't know why I'm saying 2024 because that was a long time ago. Straight onto the bookshelf tour. I'm going to be doing the bookshelf tour a little bit differently. Most times when I watch these videos, they're up against their shelves, showing you each shelf. However, I'm not going to do that because, number one, I think if I did that, I would genuinely show you every single book on my bookshelf, and I don't want to sit here and be like, here's this book, here's this book, here's... And also the gap to my bookshelves and between my bed is quite small, so I don't think I'd fit a camera up there. So I'm just going to do it sat here, having a good yap to you. So if you'd like the sound of that, keep watching. Let's just get on to the bookshelf tour. So like I said, I'm actually gonna start with my classics. I did say I was gonna start with my author shelves, but my classics are like, I can see my classics, like they're like staring me in the eye and they're saying please talk about us first, so I'm gonna do that. So I have like floating shelves which I put my classics on. I already said that, didn't I? Yeah, but I have floating shelves I put all of my classics on. I love floating shelves, they look really cool, but they're right by my doors. So I'm looking at 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea right now, and it is slanted, and it kind of scares me that they're gonna fall and get damaged, but they're also classics, so I kind of want that vibe for them, if you know what I mean. I have 4 floating shelves. The top 2 are my classics. I have like Little Women, Pride and Prejudice, Great Gatsby, Scarlet Letter, Alice in Wonderland. I put those together, and then underneath I have like Agatha Christie, Dorian Gray. I love Dorian Gray, by the way, favorite classic. I also love Alice in Wonderland, other favorite classic. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1984, which like is a book that I keep seeing people reposting a quote from that book on their Instagram story, and I'm like, yep. And if you've read 1984, you understand. If you haven't read 1984 and you have a reason like you're scared, you just don't want to, all valid reasons, because 1984 is terrifying. But I would honestly recommend reading 1984. It's quite an eye-opening, very eye-opening. Like, it's quite hard to read, I'll be honest with you, but it's such a good book and I would really recommend it, especially now. Those are more what I call like my classics. I also have on display, which I got literally last week, is my Edgar Allan Poe horror collection, because I'm a fantasy horror writer. I also love horror, but I don't read a lot of horror. I just love it. I watch more horror than I read horror, and I feel like a fraud when I say I'm a fantasy horror writer, because you have to read what you want to write, and I don't read horror. So I got that, and I'm planning on getting more horror. You'll see throughout the shelf I don't have that much horror. But yeah, and then I have a really cool Hard Times edition from Charles Dickens that I got from my friend. So shout out Amy, thank you. And then for the other 2 shelves, the first one is called, well actually, I was going to say it's called my modern classics, because I have Watership Down, which I believe was written in 1960s, but then 1984, which is also more of a modern classic compared to some of the other classics, is in with the classics. I have Watership Down. I love Watership Down. I've not read the full book yet, but I absolutely love it, and it inspired me to write a short story that I have worked on. I think I've worked on YouTube or Instagram, somewhere I've worked on it. My spider story, I literally love Watership Down. And then on that shelf I have like poetry. I have a play, which is one play, which is in the Spectacles, that I got in GCSE, and I still have the book. And then I have Olivia Blake's January is a short story collection, I believe. I just got this book actually because I wanted to read more short story collections, but I haven't actually, like, it was in the short story section, because I've not read it, I can't confirm or deny. So I believe it's a short story collection, but I could be incredibly wrong and it's just a novel and it's just there for no reason, but it's there and it's going to stay there. And then underneath the final floating shelf is where I have all of my non-fiction. Now, one thing about me is I don't actually read a lot of non-fiction physical books. I read a lot of magazines, a lot of articles, but I don't read physical non-fiction books. But I have quite a selection. I have one book that I did read that I really liked, was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Like, I don't know how to describe that book, because I feel like bad saying I liked it, because I did. It was horrible, but it was, you know, like, very difficult to describe it. I like that book. I've got a dictionary in thesaurus. Everyone needs one of those, but I think mine's actually outdated. I think it's from like the 90s. Pretty sure if I looked for like the word slay or yeah or any of like Gen Z stuff, it wouldn't be in there. And then I have like Alison Hammond's, which I got, my mum gave me that because I don't even know what happened. I just know that she had the hardback and then the paperback came, and I was like, why have you bought the book twice? She was like, I don't know, here you go. And I was like, thank you. I have Eloise Knight, which I love that book, but it is such an incredibly hard read. That book was so well written, but it broke my heart. That's all of my class. I also have the BTS books. I love BTS so much, and I have that book. Have I read it? No. Common theme throughout this video, but that's my little classic section. I also have a photo frame. I don't know, I could remove this when I film the actual clip of this and just never talk about it, but I have a photo frame that I got in 2024 that I haven't put a frame in, which is so bad. Don't be like me, guys. Moving on, enough about frames. Next we have what I mentioned earlier is my author shelves. Now, I only have 5 shelves actually full in this section. I have a really empty shelf at the bottom. Like I said at the beginning, some of these shelves are shelves that I have dedicated to an author or a series, and some of them are just because that said author and that said series is too big to go on in mix for my mixed genres. A great example of too big to go in other shelves is my first author shelf, which is a Rick Riordan shelf. If you know anything about Rick Riordan, you know that he has a lot of books. Pretty much, I don't have all of them. I think he has a lot more series that I don't have, but I've got like my Percy Jackson books. I've got the new Percy Jackson books. I've got Heroes of Olympus, which is the current one that I'm currently on. I think I'm on House of Hades, and I'm planning, you'll see, spoiler alert, it's on my 26th or 2026. Have Trials of Apollo, have The Sun and the Star, I have the Kane Chronicles, and then I have this really awesome edition of Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief. The Sea of Monsters edition is out now, and I've resisted buying it, but I'm very, very tempted. I just haven't bought it because Sea of Monsters is not my favorite Percy Jackson book, but that doesn't mean I won't ever buy it because I love Percy Jackson. We'll see. I don't want to buy it, but also part of me is like, what if you want to replace your paperbacks with a really cool hardback set? And I'm like, just stop thinking about it, just move on. There's not really much more to say. I do like Rick Riordan, I just haven't read all of his stuff, and he has a lot of books. Next author shelf is an author that I've actually met, and I love her, and her books are so good, and this is like a series and author dedicated shelf because I literally love her, and that's of course Tia Maffey, who wrote the incredible Shatter Me series, who literally invented Aaron Warner, and I just love the Shatter Me series. It's incredible. And then she also wrote the This Woven Kingdom series, which I also read and loved. I love Cyrus. It's always the villain. She's really good at writing like villains that you just love, because I love Cyrus and I literally love Aaron Warner. Shatter Me is so good, and then the Woven Kingdom series, incredible, and I cannot wait for the final book. Highly would recommend. I have Room to Expand as well. I think she's releasing Release Me this year and another Woven Kingdom book, so I have room to expand. Next we have my favorite shelf in my entire book shelves. I love it. It's also, oh look, my voice is going. My voice decided to go in the most important shelf. I'm of course talking about The Hunger Games. I absolutely love The Hunger Games. I love it so much. I did in fact cry when Sunrise on the Reaping comes out, and I think that's all you need to know. Not reading it. I did also cry while reading it, but I just cried at the fact that it was coming out because I love The Hunger Games. I have a lot of Hunger Games stuff. I'm not going to go through all this individually. The main things I want to point out is how I don't have the current UK paperbacks because I think they're really ugly. I don't even think they're like, the design is that ugly. I just don't know why it's like a dark blue and not just black. But that's all I'm gonna say. I literally love The Hunger Games. I will be there opening weekend for Sunrise on the Reaping. Don't you worry about it. I will be sat in that. I'm currently sat in the theatre. Quickly moving on. Next I have a shelf for an author who is not really an author shelf. She just has so many books and I haven't even read them all. It is Sarah J Maas. I have Throne of Glass, ACOTAR, Crescent City. I've read up to a Frost, what's the little novella called? The Blue Book. I always identify ACOTAR books based on the colour, not the title. I think it's called like Frost and Starlight, the little skinny blue book. I have the orange book and then the entire Crescent City series to read. That whole books have their own shelf because she has too many books. I love Throne of Glass, but Throne of Glass doesn't fit on like another shelf, so they're all together. Yeah. Final author shelf I have is Karen McManus and Jennifer Lynn Barnes. They have their shelf together. I actually gave them their own, like put them together because I was like, their books just work together, and then they did an event which I went to and they were both there and I met both of them. So, but Karen McManus, I love all of her books. I've read all of them. The only one I don't like is The Cousin, so I just lied saying I love all the books, but I love the Born versus Lying series. I've read that and I will read it again. It's so good. And then probably my favorite standalone book from hers, I'm just looking at them now and I've forgotten what happens in literally all of them. I think it's Two Can Keep a Secret. I remember reading that and it was like a crazy twist. Then I have Jennifer Lynn Barnes. She has wrote the Inheritance Games and then its spin-off series and then The Naturals. I love both these series. I am also a Grayson girly. I was team Grayson, and then spoiler if you haven't read the Inheritance Games, she doesn't pick Grayson. So devastated. I've read the entire Natural series, love the Natural series. Again, in the Natural series, it's just a running theme with Jennifer Lynn Barnes. The protagonist didn't pick the love interest in the Natural series that I preferred. So that's just me though. But I will say one thing I've noticed about my reading taste as well is like I don't love YA thrillers like I used to. That is the end of my author shelves. We're finally onto the middle shelf and I have been yapping for 18 minutes. Display shelves, mini genres. Middle shelves, I'm not going to go into too much. I have like my Good Girls Guide to Murder shelf at the top, and then I have a Holly Jackson shelf. Holly gets her own shelf because she has traumatized me in every one of her books. I don't think I've ever read a book and come out of it and I've been like, okay. Then this is a new edition. If you'd have told Hannah in even like 2024 that I was going to have a historical fiction shelf, I would have laughed in your face because I hated historical fiction. I have Taylor Jenkins Reid books, I have Lessons in Chemistry, I have The Secret History. I don't know if that's historical fiction, but it's on there. My final shelf is why am I going my, like, it's my mixed genre shelf where I have mixed genre. I have like thrillers. It's basically, if I don't know what genre the book is or it's a thriller, it goes on that shelf. That's my middle shelf. That was pretty quick. And then finally, it is onto my kind of my block of fantasy shelves. I have 4 shelves. They're all full of fantasy books. My top shelf, which I have the Light Lark series. I have a collector's edition for this. I just put them there. They really nice covers. I have my dystopian mixing, so I've got like Handmaid's Tale, Red Queen, Six of Crows. I do organize this section of my shelf. I do this in all of them. I do this in all of my genre shelves. I organize in alphabetical order, so all these books are in alphabetical order, so it's all the A's, B's, C's on the top row. Second shelf, I have like D, E, F, G, R, S. To be honest, this shelf, this is where like the vibes come in. I wanted to change it because my last shelf had all my books on their like spine, and I wanted to put some sideways, so this is kind of where the vibes come in because it just didn't look right alphabetically and stuff like that, so it's kind of messed up, which upsets me, but also you gotta do what you gotta do. But I've got like Ark of Scythe series, which I love the first book in that series, and if you want a really good dystopian sci-fi book, go read Scythe. It's so good. Brandon Sanderson, which I've never read a Brandon Sanderson book, which again, I feel like a fraud as a fantasy writer. I have Divine Rivals, which I've had on my shelf for so long that both of the books are now in paperback. And then the next one, again, more fantasy. I have the Fourth Wing series. I also have actually a book that I literally love with my entire heart and soul. However, it doesn't fit on my historical fiction shelf, but it is legit historical fiction, and that is the book Thief. I love the book Thief. I literally cried. Like, I cried, and I knew what was going to come as well. I knew what was going to happen, and I still cried. I also have Immortal Consequences, which I'm very excited about reading as size. Ivy Marie is also a big inspiration to me because one thing about Immortal Consequences is it's in like sections, and I always before was like a 2 or 3 parter in a book, and then I read Immortal Consequences and I was like, oh my god, I can do like I don't know, it locked something in my brain. It's like, oh my god, a book can have more than 3 parts because that book has so many parts, and it really influenced me splitting my current work in progress into so many different parts. So, and I also just really like that book. Then I have the Fourth Wing series. I mean, I think everyone's read that. My final shelf for this video, and then we get to talk about more books, and it is of course the rest of my fantasy, and I have the absolutely legendary series, which you're all going to be disappointed because I haven't read. I've read The Hobbit, but I haven't read the rest of them. It's obviously Lord of the Rings. I've watched the movies. I love the movies, and I will be reading one of them this year. And then I also have just a random stack of books. I also have Twilight. I've not read Twilight either. I used to be in my vampire era, then I wasn't, and then I was last year because I watched Vampire Diaries and the originals, and then I'm kind of not anymore, but I feel like I will at some point. That is my complete bookshelf tour. I hopefully haven't yapped for too long, but I'm going to continue to yap because I'm also going to do my reading goals. I forgot about that. I'm going to start my reading goals, and then I'll talk about my 26 for 2026, but I only have I have 4 reading goals this year because last year I had loads, and it's like, finish this series, read this many books, do this, and I did none of them. Finished 1 series and that was it, and it was because last year and also this year I was like, I'm definitely going to focus more on writing than reading, so like any spare time will go towards writing and not so much reading. And then I was literally like, I'm still going to set a million goals for me, and I didn't do any of them. So this year I was like, bringing that, I'm still focusing on writing over reading, but I am of course gonna still set some goals. So number 1, I have read 12 books. I thought of like read 1 book each month because I do think I'll read over 12. I just thought 1 book a month, like, you know. Then I have 2, which the 2 kind of go together, and it's read more diverse genres and read more diverse authors, because last year I read a lot of romantasy. I don't have anything against romantasy, but you know when you just read so much something, you're sick of it, and that was me with romantasy. And I just feel every time I think about a romantasy, I'm like, I don't even want to think about it. I just can't. So I want to read more diversity, and I also want to read like classics and just not romantasy all the time this year. And then I also have a 10 more book events, and I put at least 3 because I do love going to author events and stuff like that. I don't know how many I went to last year. I went to 2 at least. I want to 10 more. I've already been to 1 this year, so I'm actually ahead of my time. Those are all of my reading goals. It's a bit pathetic, to be honest with you, but that's my reading goals. Now onto my reading list. So like I said, I saw somebody else do 26 to 2026, and I was like, I'm gonna copy you. I don't know what channel it was, but if I find it, I will put it in the description. Everyone does like a 26 to 2026, but what was different was that this person I watched specifically separated her books into different categories, and I was like, I'm also going to do that. And when I was thinking about putting this list together, I really wanted to put down books that I actually want to read. That's kind of what I was thinking. Let's just get into it because I've yapped for 28 minutes. So I have 5 sections. I have new releases, classics, fantasy, misc genre, which you might be thinking, why have you got fantasy and then misc genre? I have fantasy because I love fantasy and I have a lot of fantasy books, and then misc genre is just everything else. Then I have a category that I never thought I'd add, and then I thought, you know what, I actually just need to be more diverse, and it is non-fiction. They're not even categories either. Like I've got like more than, I wanted to do like 5 in each, but that would add 25, so that wouldn't have worked either. And then I was like, I'll just put one more. I realized I don't have enough books for all the categories, so there is 26 here, but there's like an odd number in each, which low-key hurts my brain, but that's just how it is. Starting with new releases, I have A War of Wyverns, which is the second book in the Language of Dragons series, I believe it's called. Then I have Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. This is a book that I wouldn't normally go for. However, like I said, I want to read more diverse genres, so I want to read this book, and I want to support Jeanette. So I have Release Me, which is the second in the Watch Me series. I don't know, is it called the New Republic series? I don't know. That one. And then I have Reading Lies. I'm very excited about Reading Lies. Oh, I thought that was the special. Sorry, I'm book shopping. I got distracted. So those are my new releases. Now on to classics. Now what did I read last year? Classics. I read 1984, Animal Farm. I think that's it. I didn't read many classics at all. And I have 5. And when I picked my classics, I was very like specific on what I want to go on this list. And I was looking at my classics. I was like, what do I actually want to read? So I have Dracula by Bram Stoker. I've been saying I'm going to read for like 3 years, so it's about time. We have Alice in Wonderland, which is a reread for me because I think I've read it once before. Little Women, which I've never read Little Women, and I've been saying for like 3 years I want to watch the movie that has Florence Pugh and Timothy Chalamet in, but I've never read the book. I have Hard Times by Charles Dickens. This one, I've read Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and I was a bit like, I liked it, but I didn't know if the writing was for me. And I was thinking about the other books that I wanted to read by Charles Dickens. There's obviously Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, and then I looked at the page count and it was like 500, 1,000. I was like, no way, am I going to do that with all these other things? And then I have Watership Down by Richard Adams. I've read parts of it and I've watched the movies, but I've never read the full book, and I want to read the full book this year because I just think it's incredible. Then we're going on to fantasy. I have One Dark Window, which I believe is a fantasy horror. I love fantasy horror and I want to read more of that this year. Legendborn, Fellowship of the Rings, Court of Silver Flames, Mistborn because I've never read Bryan Sanderson, Six of Crows because I've also been trying to read that book for like 10 years, Divine Rivals, House of Hades because I really want to finish Heroes of Olympus this year, and then my current read, A Language of Dragons. So I'm actually already reading one book, so well done to me. And then we have misc genre. This is the only, it's the only list on the shelf. What? It's the only list that I have one book that I don't have, but I plan on getting and reading this year, or like reading from a library or something like that if I can find it. And that is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And then I have Lessons in Chemistry, The Thursday Med Club, Girl Goddess Queen, which I put on here and then I thought, is this technically fantasy? And then I was like, it's a retelling or like Greek mythology, so it's going in misc genre. January's, which again, is this also fantasy? I don't know. And then I have Alice with a Y, which I just bought that book and then I have non-fiction. Now non-fiction, don't know if I would actually read these, but I wanted to at least have the option and try and force myself to read non-fiction. Have Beyond the Story 10 Years to a Record of BTS, because why would I not want to read about BTS? I mean, I've also had this on my shelf for years. And then I have Addicted to Anxiety because I have anxiety. But yeah, that's my 26 for 2026. This video is kind of like how I want to come back at the end of the year and see if my shelf has changed, my reading taste, like if I've done lists and stuff like that. So I wanted to make a video like this, which is not my usual content because I usually just post writing stuff. I hope you enjoyed a little peek in my bookshelf. I enjoyed yapping about books for 37 minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Goodbye.